Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Kind, and today we are going to be making and sending a photo print. If you're interested in a specific step in my process, I've split the video into different sections, and all of the supplies I use will be listed in the description below. For this video, we will be printing my curious photograph of a red fox kit and sending that off to a relative of mine at the end of the video. And we'll also be printing my photograph Watchful, which I'll be prepping for sale on my website. Now, if I'm being honest, I'm not sure I would have chosen Curious for print, just because it's not quite as clear as I would have liked as the fox was moving around a bit. However, we'll be printing that on a 12x8, so the size will be pretty forgiving. Now, my photograph Watchful is crispy and clear and just super clear. So we'll be printing that on a 10x15. So the first step is deciding whether to print my photos at home or to send them to a lab. And there are pros and cons to each. One of the big benefits of printing your photos at home is that you get absolute control over what the photo is going to look like. You can buy your own printer, select your paper, your ink, and refine and test your process until you come up with that perfect print. But the big downside to that is the expense. A decent photo printer will run you upwards of $600. Then there's the paper costs, the ink costs, and upkeep on top of that. Well, I'd love to print my own photos, and I hope to one day. For right now, I use a lab. I found one that gives me a lot of freedom and very high quality pictures. The turnaround time is really good, and I'm very happy with the photos that I have received from them. So for right now, at least, the convenience and simplicity outweigh the cost of not having absolute control. The next step is selecting my paper. The lab I use gives me 5 different options, all from the Hahnemühle paper company. They are William Turner, Photorag, Fine Art Pearl, Torchen, and Barita. For both of these photos, I chose the Barita just because it has really warm colors and brings out a lot of detail in the pictures and has a lot of contrast and depth to it, which works really well with the color palette of both photographs. For the Fox kit, the Curious picture, it'll help save a lot of the detail that's lost with that slight vibration of the picture, and with the adult fox in the Watchful photograph, it will just accentuate the clarity of the shot. After I've settled on a paper, I have to start prepping the picture for print. Now, the picture that you see on your screen is not the same as the one that's going to come out on paper. Each monitor has its quirks, it displays color differently, and not to mention the fact it's backlit, which will affect how it'll look once it's actually on paper printed. Ideally, to correct this, you'd have what's called a monitor calibrator, which evens out the tones in a monitor and helps it display true colors. But I don't own one. Cheapskate moment. Luckily, I know each one of my monitor's quirks fairly well. This monitor, which is off-screen, but I swear it exists, runs very warm and pretty dark, whereas this one is a lot cooler and a lot brighter. My laptop is pretty true to color. It might be a bit warm, but only marginally. And my old laptop is pretty cool and extremely dark because it's a 9-year-old MacBook that's on its last legs. So by reviewing the picture on all of these different screens, I can get an accurate idea of what the photo will look like. And with the 2 prints in this video, I was very happy with the light level and the color levels of both in the end. But before I do this comparison, I do what's called a soft proof. Soft proof is pretty much a digital preview of the print's colors. To do one of these, you will need to download an ICC profile, which if you're using a lab is usually provided on their site or can be found through a quick Google search. And to the best of my knowledge, they only work with Adobe Photoshop and Lightroom Classic, but I'm not sure about any other photo editing programs. So let me show you exactly what a soft proof is and how to set it up. Once you have your ICC profile downloaded and your photo opened in Photoshop, you're going to go up to View, Proof Setup, and then click Custom. From there, it's going to open the Customize Proof Condition window. Then you're going to click Device to Simulate and select your custom profile. Here I have my Hahnemühle Barita loaded up. Leave Preserve RGB numbers unchecked. Don't mess with the rendering intent section at all. Make sure black point compensation and simulate paper color is checked. From there, just click OK. And you should see a slight difference in the colors of the picture. This is the simulation that I talked about earlier. Now your goal is going to be to restore the picture on here back to what it looked like before you clicked Proof Colors. So I'm going to want to edit this with Proof Colors on and try and get it back to what it looked like when I didn't have Proof Colors on. So once you have edited your photo and you're happy with the results, you're going to want to go up to File and make sure you save this as a TIFF, because that has the most information for the printer to interpret, and overall this gives the best and most detailed looking print. At long last, it's time to order the print. Now, depending on what service you use, you'll get different levels of customization. My lab lets me choose the paper type, the print size, and the border. We've already gone over paper extensively and size, and I think the border is very much a personal choice. I like a little bit of border just to draw the viewer's eye into the picture. And for both of these pictures, I chose the 0.79 inch border, and I think it fits it perfectly. I don't sell my pictures with a frame because I think that's very much up to the client. I know I've seen posters and things online that I would really like to buy, but the frame just doesn't fit with the room that I'm putting it in or something like that, and I won't end up buying it. So I would rather just leave that choice up to my customer. So that is my prep stage. If you've been following along, congratulations, you've just made a print. Now once the print arrives, it's time to give it a look. First, I put on a pair of nitrile gloves so that I don't get any oils from my skin onto the paper. I use nitrile over latex or cotton gloves because the sulfur in latex can damage the print and the cotton gloves can leave behind fibers. I was really excited to use my knife for this, but the lab provided a nice tear strip on the back of the box, so maybe another time. This is by far my favorite part, just taking the print out and holding it in my hands for the first time. I actually forgot that the camera was rolling here, and I just kind of walked away and started looking at it. After I've unpackaged the print, I inspect it under different lights, like a warm inside light, natural daylight, and even a grow light, just to see how it looks under different conditions. And with both of these prints, they turned out pretty much spot on. The color, the light, the detail, I was happy with everything. But just to make sure, after I've done this, I inspect it under a lit magnifying glass. Now, this might seem like overkill, but with the print that I unboxed earlier, I inspected it under this light and I saw some faint horizontal toner lines in the beiges and greens of the background. I contacted the lab and they generously reprinted it for no cost. But as you can see, taking this extra step and this extra time to inspect the print really ensures that I can send the best quality product that I can to my client. Now the last step is signing your print. It's always a little bit scary, but with some practice, and I mean a lot of practice, it's not too bad. To sign my prints, I use the Hahnemühle Signing Pen Duo set, which is safe for archival prints and doesn't damage them in any way. I offer my prints signed in the front as well as the back, and I always number them. The Photograph Watchful is a limited run of 5, whereas Curious, the print I'm sending to a relative, is a one-of-a-kind single edition. And that is my entire process of making a print. Now before I move on to the extras like selling, packaging, stuff like that, I want to take you out into the field with me for just a minute.
Now, I'm bringing you out here with me because I want to ask you a simple question. Why would you ever make a photo print? Think of how much time and money goes into one of my prints, and we're not even finished yet. In a digital world, you can post a photo in seconds and share it with millions of people. Millions of people. A print just kind of sits there. Maybe hangs there on the wall. Usually it's not going to get you famous or spread your influence, so why even bother? hear that? There's a coyote right over there, yapping away. Hope he's not mad at me. Okay, well, that was probably the coolest 20 minutes in recent memory. You see, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. I could have taken out my phone and shared those photos from my camera directly to my phone, posted them to social media before the coyote had even walked away. But that swiftness with which we can post our photos is a double-edged sword. It also can kill our photos. Think about it. You post your latest portfolio shot online. It gains traction, it circulates around, gaining likes. Heck, it might even go viral, but that's it. That's the end. It has a couple weeks online, and you gain your followers, you gain your likes, and you get another feather in your cap sitting on your computer's hard drive. Until the internet forgets about it, until you forget about it. Then, it's lost forever. This is going to sound strange, but the reasons I said you shouldn't make a print are the exact reasons that you should. We live in a digital world, in a world of trends and autoplay and swiping and scrolling and double tapping. In a world of such impermanence, we need to create something that's real, something that lasts. If you post a photo online, its popularity might last a week. But if you take the time to craft a print and you take care of it, it can last centuries. Let that sink in, centuries. It turns from a photo that you scroll by to a work of art that you can hand down from generation to generation. As photographers in this new world, a whole side of photography has been lost. And if you've done any research into printmaking, you've probably heard this before, that a photo isn't complete until it's been printed. Now, I used to think that was just, photographers romanticizing the bygone era of printmaking. But then I held one of my photos in my hands. All of the work, the gear I bought, the planning, the waiting, the editing, it was all condensed into this piece of paper and ink that I could feel, I could hold it in my hands. It really felt like the photo's journey was complete. And that is why I made prints.
Okay, so now that my rant is over, it's time to talk about what I send with my photo prints. First and foremost is a certificate of authenticity. This includes the title of the artwork, the date it was taken, the print number, the print size, my signature, stuff like that. I print these on thick cardstock, and I also emboss my company's logo at the bottom just for that added touch. I also include a bit of tracer paper that has some information about what was going on behind the camera when the photo was taken. Now, I have to admit, I completely stole this idea from the landscape photographer Thomas Heaton. Great photographer. Check out his YouTube channel. Really cool guy. But he took this idea from the landscape photographer Ben Horn, so two wrongs make a right. But come on, look at how cool this is. There's no way I couldn't use this for myself. And lastly, I include a handwritten note, just personally thanking the client for buying my print and including some more in-depth information about the photo, the process of making it and editing it and printing it. And I take all of this and I put it in these lovely black linen and silver foil envelopes. And one last note, to write all of this on the certificate and the handwritten note, I use this just gorgeous fountain pen that was carved from the hull of the USS Constitution. It writes just beautifully, and it adds a bit of historical nuance to the print that makes it so much cooler. Now, after this, it's time to package the print. I send my prints in tubes, specifically a 4-inch by 10-foot long black ABS pipe. I cut them to size to fit the print, leaving a couple inches on either end. Now, I use these tubes because they are incredibly heavy duty. They're designed to be used underground for plumbing and can withstand extreme temperatures, including whatever this is. so they can more than handle anything that the mail system throws at them. Plus, the black really fits with my aesthetic. To prep the print to be packaged, first I lay out a layer of glassine paper, which is archival and safe for the print, and fold it over so it completely covers the print. Then I fold that up and tape it shut, and then very, very carefully wrap the print to fit in the 4-inch tube with about 1/16 of an inch between the print and the tube, which usually takes a few tries. Then to secure it, I use a belly band, which is just a standard piece of paper wrapped around the middle, and I secure that with a piece of tape. I print a notice on this band that says tear here and just warns the client to read the letter about how to properly handle the print before opening it. Then I put some scrap glassine on both ends of the tube and some in the middle so it doesn't move around at all. Then I put the caps on, tape those down, print the shipping address and tape that on, and as a final touch, stencil my logo on the tube, just for some added pizzazz. Now, how do you price a photo print? I've done a lot of research trying to find a good formula that I can apply to all of my pictures, but I have yet to find any. Each photographer is incredibly different. There's as much diversity to prices and prints as there are to photographers. There's, the quality of the print they're producing, how attached they are to the photos, how much work went into them. There's so many different factors that affect the price that you see when you buy it. Now, I don't think that you should just pick a number out of the air, but each person's going to have to come up with their own formula and figure out what is fair and what works for them. But just to give you an idea of my thought process, here's how I go about pricing my prints. I start with the cost of production, which for the Watchful photograph is $78 per print. Then I add 35% onto that to cover shipping as well as a little bit of profit, and that brings the total price up to $105. Now, this isn't as cheap as something you get printed out at your local supermarket, but I hope that you see I'm trying to produce the highest quality print that I can for you all. For shipping, I use USPS Priority 2-Day with tracking added. I don't ship international at the moment, but if any of my viewers overseas would like to buy my prints, let me know and I will be happy to accommodate you. If there's any issue with the print, I provide my client with my email address so we can get the problem resolved if that happens. After all that, it's long last, it's time to ship the print. Gotta make sure they're protected. And that is how I make my prints. If you're interested in purchasing one of them, I currently have my limited edition Watchful prints up for sale on my site, but act fast, there are only 5 available. The link to that is in the description. I hope that this video has shown you that I try to produce the best quality prints that I can, and that each one is a work of art with a lot of time and energy and effort put into it. And with that, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.